Welcome back to the Gruber Morning Show. I'm Pete Gruber.
And I'm Zane Courtney.
And we're here today to entertain you and talk about renewable energy and some of the EV news that we've come across. The picture in the background, that is Starman. It's an artist's rendering. And let's give credit to the artist, actually. There is a name there.
Ronald. He's right here. Ronald Acosta.
Yep.
There he is right there. And I feel like a fake fan. I actually didn't know his name was officially Starman.
Mm-hmm. A lot of people are curious, why would Elon do this? Why
to make a David Bowie reference?
Partially, I'm sure, yeah. Well, first thing is he had more than one Roadster, so it wasn't his primary daily driver, right? This was VIN 686, I believe, and it was one that he wasn't as attached to. VIN Founders Series number 1 is his other Roadster, and that we believe is currently at the Peterson Auto Museum for those of you that want to see it. It's either black or jet black. So the bottom line is, 5 years ago, they wanted to test a Falcon Heavy rocket, and the way you normally do that is you have to have some ballast, just like if you had a payload. Well, nobody was going to give SpaceX a $30 million satellite on an experimental, rocket booster, so they needed ballast, they needed weight. Well, somewhere along the line, and it's probably Elon thought, why throw cinder blocks and anvils into this
we need those
rocket.
To build our we need those to build our boring tunnels.
Oh, right. We need them for the factories.
But we don't need this Roadster.
But it has gone down in history as possibly one of the most brilliant marketing moves ever, because we all know that future generations going way out into the future will be talking about this crazy guy that took a car and sent it into outer space. And by that time, it will be in the universe somewhere, way far away from Earth.
You remember that story of the scientists who launched a satellite that had that kind of plaque that essentially tried to explain all of humanity on it?
Yeah.
This, I think, says more.
It does.
Because they're going to find that these came from the same planet. And whoever or whatever is out there is going to go like, okay, it's that kind of planet.
So that's why we have the Starman picture up. It is a tribute to what happened 5 years ago, the 5-year anniversary. And for those of you that are curious about an April 1st article that we did about the retrieval of this car, and that's the only clue I'll give you, if you go to our website, grubermotors.com, there under newsletters, there is an article describing how there is a retrieval effort underway for this Roadster because the battery has gotten bricked and it needs to come to Gruber Motor Company for a battery repair.
That's doing the Lord's work. I'm glad we're getting some more business.
All right, so it looks like we've got some questions that are stacked up, and the reason was last Thursday, we did our first non-live broadcast. We stayed with the program and did a broadcast, but it wasn't live. And we collected questions during that last Thursday broadcast.
I'm jealous. You guys got Mark for 2 episodes in a row.
Yeah.
What a guy. I still haven't even met the guy, but I'd love to. Mark, if you're watching.
Oh, you haven't met Mark?
No, not yet.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
I got listen, this is a big chair I gotta fill, He's a good dude. I want to meet the guy. Give him a hug.
Well, he's in the main corporate building, Building A, so anytime you want to walk
make that
over.
happen. So
it looks like TikTok. Bill Wood. Hello, Bill. He's one of our faithful. His question is, did you see Fox News with Jesse Waters last night about lithium mining in Africa? I did not.
I didn't watch the segment. I mean, I keep up on a fair amount of news about that situation, but I didn't actually get to see that segment either. It'd be worth looking at.
It's interesting. Lithium mining in Africa, obviously South America is already Bolivia is one of the hotbeds of lithium mining.
Right.
But if there's more in Africa, of course, having said that, with battery technology moving into other chemistries, this may be all for naught. In fact, later on in the segment, we'll talk about a salt battery. But yeah, we'll cover that here shortly.
From Tim Rollins on YouTube, how about Rich rebuilds with his Audi e-tron filled with rice? Now that I did see.
Tell us about it.
He took a box, he took his e-tron, and they're like, well, you know what? We would think about a dehumidifier, but that's expensive. And we have all these bags of rice that nobody wanted because they're like the open bags, right? So it's not like they're stealing food from anybody. It's just nobody was going to eat that rice. Why don't we fill it with I think it was like 4,000 pounds of rice, and to suck the moisture out of the damaged e-tron.
You're kidding. They were using rice as a desiccant.
They literally, it's like when you stick your phone in rice, they did that, but times 1,000.
Did it work?
It did.
It did, okay. Well, Rich
It's a great
is an
video.
innovator. Yeah, hats off to Rich for finding a new way to remove moisture.
Or even better, using an old way extravagantly. Fantastic.
So YouTube, my melt. The Zane is back. There we go.
Hey, I got a big seat to fill, but I'm always happy to be here, especially with you, all the boys. It's good to be back. From Anthony Baugh on good YouTube Shorts, good morning, and on Marcus from TikTok, why sunglasses? A question that we love to get, and one that we will answer.
Yeah, and we've never heard before.
We have heard before.
So all of those questions and comments were from today. I figured we'd get to those, and
Okay.
I'm pulling up now the questions from our previous shows here.
Hey, perfect.
Okay. Thank you, Richard. Michael Chilton. Hey guys, thanks for your time. Love the channel, and congrats on rebuilding the facility after the fire. Sending positive thoughts to more success in the future. Thank you. Much appreciated. And yeah, our facility is evolving into a showcase. In fact, I was telling the service manager there yesterday, I said, you guys keep this place so clean. This is exactly the image that we want compared to an ICE, auto repair shop. Lots of grease on the floor and oil and all that.
It is tremendously clean in there. It is a nice place to be in.
Speaking of oil and emissions, that car show that we went to Saturday morning, Richard and I, we both drove Roadsters, by the way, and there was an EV contingent there that represented over a dozen brands of electric vehicles. Rivian was there, Lucid, of course, was there, Tesla, Genesis was there, Polestar. It went on and on. But the Scottsdale Electric Vehicle Association was hosting this particular tent and this EV area. And they wanted the genesis or the beginnings of the EV revolution there, which is a Tesla Roadster. So we had two of them there. And, these events are not normally extraordinarily well organized. So you have a long wait line to get into these things, especially one this large, because 50,000 people were going to attend and thousands of cars.
That's a long line.
So I started at about 8 o'clock at my house. By the time I got to Fountain Hills, and Fountain Hills, Arizona, by the way, is a small township east of Scottsdale, and it boasts a large fountain. It used to be the largest fountain in the world in the 70s and 80s when I moved here. It is now no longer the largest, but there is this man-made lake, and this fountain fires off every hour on the hour and runs for about 10 minutes, and it shoots up literally hundreds of feet. It's pretty impressive. Around the grassy areas, they generally have events like this, car shows, art shows, lots of those. There was even a gun show there that day that we were there.
Yeehaw.
But anyway, it takes forever to get into a place like this. So I was sitting there in traffic in Fountain Hills for about 35 minutes. And unfortunately, the guy in front of me was a heavily cammed Mustang, Lopi engine, lots of spewing emissions.
Oh,
And
sure.
of course, I couldn't hold back too far because there's this long line behind me, and they would have honked their horns endlessly if I created a huge gap to try to breathe.
No one could see the smoke coming off that thing.
Precisely. So the entire 35 minutes I was fighting carbon monoxide poisoning. And again, it convinced me why we're into these emission-free vehicles. We've got to stop this
It's
sort of
just
thing.
more pleasant for everybody. Like, even though it sounds nicer.
So it was a great show. Richard, what did you think?
I thought it was amazing. I love seeing anything to do with history, anything to do with the military, and we got to sit next to the Vipers and the Hueys that came in for the show. So they flew in from San Diego. Me and my girlfriend got there early. And we got to see him land, and that was spectacular. But to your point, Pete, when we were waiting in that same line before they even let anybody in, and we were talking on the phone because she had driven her own car, And she's like, okay, well, I'm not going to be driving onto the lawn. It's just a little Ford Escape. It would look a little out of place with all those vehicles there. And so she went and found a spot to park, and she walked back to the Roadster. And when she got in, she's like, I can't breathe. You know, because there were a bunch of, we were behind the Corvettes, and there were a bunch of, you know, the earliest Corvettes you can imagine. I mean, these were beautiful, beautiful cars.
Oh, the old Stingrays?
Yeah, Stingrays. And
Worn engines, rings that need to be replaced, blow by.
My
right?
favorite.
Yeah. I mean, they were gorgeous vehicles, and I'm really happy we got to see them. As soon as she sat in the car, I was like, I don't smell anything, so I rolled down the Roadster window about that much, and immediately just came in. And it's one of those smells that, like, you know, you can enjoy, right? You get, you know, if you're on your normal day and, you know, an old car passes in front of you, you're like, oh, that's a smell from a different time. You know, I enjoy that.
A little bit's nostalgic.
Yeah, a little bit, right? But when there's 5,000 cars and they're all producing that same thing, it's like, oh my gosh, I can't breathe. This is a little strong, you know.
And you know, most of these cars probably had no catalytic converters because they were at an age that didn't require that. So, yeah, the good old days. You know, I am actually a reincarnation. Over 10 years ago, I was very active in the exotic car community. You know, I had a Dodge Viper, I had 60s muscle cars and all that. So for 10 years now, I've been in this EV space, and a lot of my car buddies, you know, kind of went, you know, I went in a different direction. It was refreshing to see a lot of them at this show. A lot of them have aged too, along with myself, of course. But I thought it was heartwarming to see them curious about this EV exhibit, because they all know
You're like,
that it's
welcome to
coming.
my world.
Yeah, exactly. They all know it's coming, and they all are going to have to migrate like I did at some point.
It's one of the coolest things to get to see the crossover with these two technologies, where it's like, what if we had the classic styling of the old stuff with the technology and the cleanliness of the new stuff? And people are doing it. I love it when people retro mod these old you know, vehicles to have this sort of thing.
We'll talk
time.
actually about a new car EV hypercar manufacturer later in the segment, which really preserved a lot of that muscular styling in the old muscle cars. So that's coming up shortly.
Pete, what I found astounding too was as we walked from the EV side of everything to the opposite side of the lake, how many people stopped you? Right, as you're going, like, Pete Gruber, and you're like, oh my gosh, it's so and so, and you know, you guys would sit and chop it up about, you know, what y'all were up to and where you had been, and you know, I think it was kind of eye-opening to see how interconnected the community is, and you are into the community with everything. It was like every 5 seconds we were being stopped.
Well, yeah, the price of fame is steep, isn't it?
It is, and you know,
I wouldn't know.
It's completely unexpected. You know, I was, like you were saying, I was walking along, and people would literally walk up to me and say, I watch all your videos. And of course, I have a certain look that, you know, easily recognizable.
Well, yeah.
But
So it makes for good content.
it's all good. It's all good because it is, you know, eventually it is raising awareness. It is educating people on what emissions are doing to this planet. And so, yeah, I'm okay with the fame.
We can have fun doing it.
Yeah. Got a comment from Juan Carlos Morataya Ramos. Hi from Guatemala. Nice to see you guys. Good to see you again, too.
And these are all past comments, but hey, if Juan Carlos, if you're watching, hey, great to see you. Canceled Comedy on YouTube. Most amazing, intuitive, knowledgeable channel for Teslas and EVs. Thank you, Gruber. Big fan.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Share the love.
Comedy. Okay.
We love nice comments. From Dylan, are y'all looking to do maintenance on Rivian trucks?
You know, it's coming. All of the other manufacturers that are in the space, of course, their vehicles right now are being serviced by their service center, and hopefully they have enough of them.
Yeah.
When they run out of them, or they run short, which they will, no one's going to be able to build service delivery as quickly as they're producing these vehicles. They will begin to outsource, and they're going to look for companies like us that are in the space. So no longer will we have to wait for the out-of-warranty vehicles to show up at our shop, but we're going to be sanctioned and supported by the EV manufacturers who need to outsource in order to maintain their vehicles.
And aren't they lucky that we're actually right down the road from a service center?
It is. My only concern with that is there are very few of us on the planet right now that are capable of working on these types of vehicles, and I guarantee you they're not going to be able to go to Joe's Auto Shop and convert them to EVs overnight.
No. But one day, with a little bit of magic, a little bit of a knowledgeable touch, we'll get there. From the Underground Plug, good morning, guys. Company I work with is interested in collaborating with you guys. Would it be okay for them to reach out?
You know, we get that often.
Collaboration's great.
I think this week, within the last couple of weeks, actually, we've had 3 of those collaboration offers, and it furthers the cause. We are very interested in assisting, helping, doing Zoom-type collaborations. If they want to fly a video team out here, we've had that happen as well. We are available. We make our facility available for that. And we're available for speaking engagements. In fact, February 16th, I'll be at Scottsdale Community College, and there'll be a speaking engagement there. I'm going to enjoy that because I actually taught at Phoenix College and at Glendale College 40 years ago. And what I was teaching was biofeedback. It was, again, a previous life. And it was a fascinating concept at the time because people were beginning to realize that your thoughts create physiological changes in your body, and we had equipment. There were handheld galvanic resistance monitors that proved to them that when your mind runs crazy with fearful thoughts, that your body reacts, the fight and flight syndrome. And it was fun teaching.
We can measure the electrical frequency of what's going on with that. That's amazing.
Precisely. So I'm in total support of what Elon is doing with Neuralink. You know, all of those concepts are just fascinating, and they are the future. Trucker Alistair, how are you? My favorite people again.
My favorite person again. Yeah, our favorite audience again. Oh,
so, you know, while
awesome.
we were at this Concourse of the Hills, on 2 occasions with our TikTok audience, we went live. And awesome. Richard did a good job with the cell phone, and we had no idea how this would, whether anybody would tune in, listen. We ended up after less than 5 minutes live with 1,400 viewers on TikTok. And we were showing the cars, we were showing the people there. We even found a couple of young ladies, Miss Maricopa, which is a county here, and Miss North Phoenix, who were at this event promoting, of course, their careers. And but anyway, thank you for joining us at that live car show, and we found it to be so productive. We'll be doing more of that live stuff with our various platforms.
And speaking of all of our various platforms, yeah, we love all of you guys. TikTok, thank you guys for getting to show up for that event. But if you want to get the full experience, if you want to see the image in the back, please sure to check us out on YouTube, Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Spotify
yep.
on the day after we go live.
We've got Jiminy Stack, who piped in last Thursday. He's the local EV expert, and Mark was talking about the battery chemistries in a Prius, and he called them nickel, or he called them lithium ion. And later on, I mentioned that those are metal hydride batteries, and Jim is corroborating that.
It's a nickel metal hydride.
Yeah, they were actually pouch batteries, which is also a completely different architecture, you know. When we were going after the graphene battery solution and trying to fit that into a Model S, those were also pouch batteries. They were not cylindrical 18650 cells that we're normally used to.
That's fascinating, because I've seen the differences in architecture, and pouch batteries are more popular in a lot of those earlier hybrids too, and I think they still use them in most hybrids.
You know, legend has it that when Martin and Mark Tarpening were selecting batteries, they went with the cylindrical 18650s to avoid royalty payments, apparently. That made it less expensive.
Incredible.
And of course, it was a wise move because those cylindrical 18650s are ubiquitous. They're used in a lot of different EVs, including the later Tesla platforms, the Model S and X.
That's awesome. My melt on YouTube, Zane wakes me up. It's early in Hawaii. I tell you what, depending on what island you're on, well, even if you're not on Big Island yourself, have yourself some Kona coffee. Good morning to you, and thanks for joining us on the morning show.
And it's got to be early there, my melt.
Oh,
my hats off to you, yes, for joining us.
Juan Carlos Mortoya on LinkedIn. Hi from Guatemala. Hey, so he's back.
Nice to see you guys.
Are these live?
Yeah.
These are live questions?
Yes.
Sweet.
YouTube, Kurt K. Good guys. Love your channel. Kurt from Philadelphia.
Hey! Eagles are gonna have a heyday.
Yeah.
Is that this weekend? Super Bowl? No.
It is.
This weekend.
You know, we should probably talk about, and we don't have the picture, do we, for the
For the
semi?
semi, yeah, we can pull it up.
Yeah,
Okay,
I've
perfect.
got one in there.
So while they're pulling it up, last week, I think it was Thursday, I get a call. I'm at my desk, and the guys are saying, hey, we were out doing B-roll shots of various things, and we drove in our neighborhood, drove past one of our commercial
Whoa.
buildings here. There's a Tesla semi in this parking lot.
Oh, and Pete, here's a shout out for your Twitter as well. It's at Pete_Gruber on Twitter.
Okay, at Pete_Gruber at Twitter, if you want to see that. There are more pictures on Twitter. So I rushed down there, grabbed a Roadster, and I thought this would be a wonderful opportunity to show the evolution of Tesla. So this picture here I posted on a few sites, and my caption was "Father and Son?" ? It went viral because people weren't sure. Some people weren't sure which came first, you know, and how could the father be so much smaller than the son? And it went on and on. But you can
It's a
see,
granddaddy.
yeah.
Look at all these.
If you look at the back of that Tesla semi, there is a differential there that is just massive, which you would expect in a semi truck, you know,
Sure.
capable of handling an 80,000 pound load. But in front of that, it turns out, is a Tesla Model S plaid motor, which is what powers this thing. That's how powerful that motor is, that it can actually power a semi.
Huh. Well, there's 3 of them, right? In the semi, was it tri-motor? Quad motor? I thought it was tri-motor.
You know, we should have done the research before.
Well, we've done the
session, but-
research on
yeah,
this. This
yeah.
is trying to remember.
But yeah,
Look at
and
that.
You can see that the seat is in the middle of this thing. He's got 2 screens, right and left. So the driver could not go on camera, and you know, for obvious reasons. Frito-Lay's a pretty big company. They don't want any liabilities. So off the record, we asked him, how do you like driving this thing? He said, well, you know, I am a seasoned semi-driver. That's been my career all my life. He said, I've never driven anything like this before in my life. This thing is fast, super fast, like no semi I've ever seen. And if you look at the front of that thing, you know how the Peterbilts and all of the big semis have this gigantic breathing grill,
Yes,
right,
exactly.
to cool that big diesel engine? This is completely closed
It's
off.
a whole new shape.
Yeah, yeah. Very aerodynamic, of course. And Frito-Lay did some cool things with the colors as well. The reason this semi was here, by the way, in our neighborhood, there's a wrap shop within walking distance of our shop. And for Super Bowl next weekend, they're going to be parking the semi in a very visible area in the entrance area.
Nice.
And what
Over
they're-
at State Farm?
at the stadium.
Nice.
And they're going to be putting wraps and murals on the trailer to advertise Frito-Lay. So that's why that thing was here. But
I'll try and zoom in a little bit so you can see it.
apparently, there have never been any close-ups like this taken of a Tesla Roadster by a semi, at least that we're aware of. And this thing literally went viral.
This might have been the first time they meet.
Could be,
Right?
yes.
And I want to touch on how we found this too.
Yeah.
So we're making a video about wheel hub motors right now, and so we were just gonna go on a drive and get some B-roll of cars on the freeway, wheels moving and all that good stuff around the city. And as we were getting into the Model S to go, we hear just tires rolling behind us. You know, there's no engine sound, right? And we turn around and look up, and this gentleman is driving, and he just waves to us real quick, and we all just kind of watch it go down. And we all just look at each other, and we're like, get in the car, let's go. We need to follow him. Get in, let's go. And we just, ran around the corner, went and, ended up locating him. And we just pulled up, and we had the DJI camera. So we've got this massive camera, and we get out, and we're like, hey, can we take a look at this? Can we film this? And the gentleman is, he again says, that's, I can't go on camera, I can't go on record, and you guys, it's parked, you guys can, right? I can't control what you do.
You can look at it.
Exactly, and it was it was just hysterical because we were again just getting in the car in this massive Tesla semi, and he probably didn't even know what he was driving by, right? Gruber Motor Company. This is what we do, So it was a very off by chance encounter. It was really cool.
There ain't no such thing as coincidence.
So
That's
my
my
first thought
experience.
was, how do we service something like this? You know, we're in the service
Carefully.
business. And although it would fit into our building, we've got a door that was specifically designed for allowing semis to come in eventually. The other thing that crossed my mind is lifts, the hydraulics. None of the stuff that we have is going to be able to accommodate this. We've got a TikTok video that we did. It's a short one, and it talks about the battery size in this little Roadster versus that semi. The battery in that Roadster is 1,000 pounds. That semi has over 10 of those types of batteries, the equivalent in it. So we would have to have, of course, something that would be 10 times stronger to even lift anything like that. But it is the future. We're going to have to adapt, and I'm sure that these things will start showing up at independent repair shops at some point in time once the warranties expire.
Though it's hard to think of any, or many, I should say, independent semi-repair shops. That at least that I know of. But hey, well, I'd love to see it, especially because the guys over at Tesla Time News apparently have their reservation on one.
Really?
So yeah, I think they're going through with it. So we'll see what happens with those guys and how they are able to service that thing. But I think that's hilarious.
So if you guys can throw up an image, we want to show the profit image. And this one was quite remarkable. As you know, Tesla in January last month made a surprising announcement that it would be cutting prices of its vehicles by as much as 20%. And while price cuts aren't new in the automotive world, they are for Tesla. This is a company that's historically been unable to keep up with demand. And it's seen its backlog shrink from almost 500,000 units in July of 2022 to 74,000 in December of 2022. Now, this has been attributed to Tesla's robust production growth. They're able to keep up and they're able to produce more vehicles, which saw a 2022 increase of 41% over 2021. So, how can they do cost or price cuts like this? Well, here's a graph that shows you why. Tesla manages to squeeze almost $10,000 margin from every vehicle that it builds. And look at even the ones that are in the industry that are close. GM, $2,100.
Isn't that wild?
BYD, $1,500. There's a Chinese company. Later on, we'll see some that are way underwater. Toyota used to be the world's largest auto manufacturer. $1,100, $1,200, all right? VW, under $1,000. Hyundai, under $1,000. Ford, negative $762.
Ooh.
But look at the two Chinese companies below there, XPeng and NIO. They lose $11,000 on every XPeng vehicle and almost $20,000 on every NIO vehicle.
Wow.
Now, what's going to happen with that? Well, the Chinese government is highly motivated to protect their interests and their economies and their top producing manufacturers. Subsidies are typically the way they handle this. But what is remarkable here is Tesla was a company that in 2008 was breathing its last breath before bankruptcy. And here they are, the most valuable car manufacturer in the world today, being in a market that is highly in demand with the rapid EV adoption. And you know, when companies grow that quick, it's very difficult to hold everything together. The fact that they were able to do that and survive and maintain a leadership position is highly commendable to the legions and teams of people within Tesla that are making all this magic happen.
And it's also worth noting, and I was listening to, I forget who it was, forgive me, but you know, someone made a really good comment that all these legacy automakers, they didn't plan for this shift. Tesla was on the forefront of it, and Toyota is a good example of someone who definitely was already on a good track when it comes to building hybrids, and they thought, you know, and they had started that earlier than anybody else, and now, because of this unbelievable shift in the market, now you can even see used Teslas coming down. It's upwards of over, well over 3%, even on new Model X's. I mean, it's crazy that it's even affecting the used market. So a used Tesla is becoming just as affordable as a new one.
We've got a YouTube visitor, David Hartline. He's actually the director of production manager at Benpack, $500 million company that makes automotive lift equipment and shop equipment. And His comment is, love you guys. Keep up the great work. Thank you for joining us, David.
Great to see you. Yeah, we got a lot of good comments here. From Instagram, from Kuba Rashwal. Hello, my dad has got a Tesla service in Poland.
Poland.
Very cool.
So Tesla service centers or independent service centers are popping up all over the planet.
We love
Many
to
of them
see it.
contact us. You know, how'd you guys do it? Do you have any training available? And but it's heartwarming to see that so many of them are popping up and are able to get into the space.
Now, that's a great opportunity for some collaboration because, I mean, gosh, we need it. It's coming up. The demand is definitely coming up. So we love to see more of that, especially overseas. And we love our audience overseas. So how cool is that?
So we've got a YouTube comment from Luck Dragon. He said, the agreement with my wife to get our Model Y was that I had to sell my 2005 Mustang GT. It had 176,000 miles, mildly modified and tuned, sold for only $4,500 after 15 years and 15 days. I was the original owner. No regrets. Sounds like he's enjoying his electric vehicle. And
that one will hold its value hilariously well. Even right now, as I mentioned, even though Tesla prices are kind of coming down, they hold their value hilariously well.
Yeah.
From YouTube Shorts, Anthony Ba, I owned a 2000 Ford Ranger EV. These were the EV95 Toyota Panasonics.
Nickel metal hydride batteries is what he's saying.
So yeah, here we go. Nickel metal hydride batteries. It were the same batteries used in the EV95 from Toyota.
Okay, interesting.
And Panasonic.
So from YouTube, Eli the Champ, you guys talk mostly about Tesla. Arcimoto is about to go bankrupt, and you've never said anything about that. My question is, what do you think about the three-wheel vehicles?
It is worth bringing those up because we've got Aptera that's also a three-wheeled vehicle, and we talk about them a fair amount. There's also, what is the name of that company?
Electromechanica Solo here in town, which we saw, Richard and I, at the Concourse of the Hills. They had one of their vehicles there. And you know, we're going to do a video on this, by the way, and we've got some collaboration coming your way. What I was fascinated with this vehicle was the amount of safety features they had in this three-wheeler. There's actually a visible roll bar in the back behind the seat to protect you in case of a rollover. But the most informative thing that I found, which I did not know, is the Solo vehicle, or the Electromechanica three-wheeler, is actually classified as a motorcycle.
Yeah, that checks out.
So it's cheaper for insurance.
There you go. Because a lot of those are on the same similar platforms as those. Is it the Polaris, the three-wheeler with the two in the front? I always forget the name of that vehicle, but the Spiders.
Mm-hmm.
So you got those. It's essentially that, but in a different configuration to let you sit differently.
Well, we have a video coming out. Is it this week, guys? That's the goal. That's the goal. Okay. So look for it next week then, it looks like. But we've been doing a lot of research and creating video content for in-wheel motors. And these three-wheelers all use that. And we're going to show you that there's some distinct advantages and a few disadvantages, but what is driving it and what the future may be with these in-wheel motor vehicles. And then, of course, you have the Aptera as well, which actually has not only in-wheel motors, but a solar panel, which allows it to go 40 miles on just solar. So for your average commute, you may never have to plug in and charge with that vehicle. But those cars are coming, and it looks like, according to our video, this use of in-wheel motors is going to expand well beyond e-bikes and some of these three-wheelers that are now classified as motorcycles because of the three wheels.
Well, speaking of e-bikes, Rivian is about to hop on the e-bike train, which is very fitting for their brand.
It is. That's something coming up later. I think I've got some stats on that.
From Manketness on YouTube, hey, I think the actual drive units aren't really efficient, and we really need a new concept for lower RPMs and less consumptions. What do you think about that? I think they're referring to that in-wheel drive unit, and maybe, so there will be more on that coming up. So
that video in about a week or two. And it looks like we've got some other news items here. Tesla posted a sales growth of over, get this, 900% in Germany last year.
Giga Berlin's kicking up the 8.
It is, yes, it was that. And of course, the adoption rates in Germany for things like this, alternative energy, clean energy, is usually much higher than the rest of the world. I think I've told many times the story about 20, 30 years ago. We go to Germany regularly because I have relatives there, and driving in the countryside, you see these old farmhouses, literally hundreds of years old, that are passed down through many generations, and the majority of them had solar panels on the roofs, along with the cows in the field and the pigs, chicks, and gardens and chickens and all that. But the Germans and the Europeans in general are really much more focused than other parts of the world when it comes to alternative energy initiatives. Norway, for example, I believe has the most electric vehicles per capita of any country in the world. Is that still a good statistic, guys?
I think it is. Yeah, I'm going to pull that up over here.
Okay.
It is a shame how high the energy prices have been, but I think that's more due to just current events and things like that. So we'll see how that all pans out when it comes to our friends in Germany and Europe. At least in the U.S., energy is, it's getting slightly more expensive. It's relatively still, well, not cheap, but it's we're doing okay with that for now, and so we'll see where all that goes.
And this 900% increase, by the way, in Germany is remarkable. It's 912.2% exactly, by the way, guys. But it is also in spite of the fact that the German federal government has significantly limited the environmental bonus for buyers in 2023. So
I'm pulling that stat up now for you.
Are you? Okay.
Here we go.
There we go.
Sure enough, Norway.
Leading the charge. Who's number 2? I can't quite read it from here.
Iceland.
Yep, Iceland.
And Sweden. So all the Scandinavian countries.
We're down there toward the bottom. We're just above China and South Korea.
Okay.
Ain't that something?
Yeah, we have a lot more drivers and a lot more vehicles on the
Scandinavia,
road that we
Netherlands.
need to swap out, I guess.
No, hey, we're working on it.
The other thing that helped Germany with that 900% increase, they've got Giga Berlin.
That's right.
They have a local manufacturing presence, and it's making a difference, it looks like. Question from YouTube, Xcube. How much do you charge to repair the Tesla Model S door handle? It varies depending on what's wrong with it. In some cases, we just simply rebuild them. There's a bad micro switch. There's a broken wire, which is not uncommon either, by the way. Not good strain relief in that part, or an outright replacement. So it varies. If you're interested, ev@gruber.com, just email them and with a description of what's wrong with your car, and they may be able to get you a hard number.
Here's an interesting question. I don't know how much detail we'll have on this, but from Mika was here. How much does Tesla's new battery jelly increase repair costs?
Well, bless their heart, Munro and Associates went a long way to discovering what this battery is about. They opened it up, they chipped away with jackhammers, they tried to get inside, and they found it to be a major undertaking to get at those 4680 cells. And of course, the conclusion was, this thing really isn't repairable. Our position on that is, this is the business we're in, is solving tough problems like this, and we're in the aftermarket repair business. So until we get one, and we're able to attempt a repair, the jury's out as far as we're concerned whether this battery is repairable or not.
But you guys do have a lot of good practice with tuna canning those things open and getting those back shut. So yeah, that'll be fun. That'll be tons of fun to get one of those in here. From Rafael Gonzalez, 007 on TikTok. Good morning. How much cost overall is it to fix a Model S 100 kilowatt hour battery?
Well, battery repair costs at Tesla with a full swap is anywhere from $17,000 for a refurbished, if they have one, to $22,000 for a brand new one. Our repair is about $5,000 to $7,000.
There you go.
YouTube, Oni Test. Greetings from Bulgaria. He asks, do you see a potential solution to the charging problem for people like me who are living in cities in an apartment complex?
I feel that pain, brother.
Well, in one of the earlier podcasts, we talked about some companies that are emerging now that recognize that there is a business opportunity here.
Huge.
By installing infrastructure at apartment complexes and then doing a pay-for-view type charging method. So it's just a question of time before somebody with some business sense realizes that there is a revenue-generating opportunity there in Bulgaria at apartments or places that don't have a charger, and inserts charging stations that generate revenue.
When we needed to, Tom Malogny just did a good segment on the failings of the free EV charging infrastructure that exists right now. Not necessarily the infrastructure, but it's actually these OEMs who are actually providing these incentive programs to give free charging, but it ends up clogging up the whole system. It's a great video worth checking out.
And of course, as always, we don't recommend that if you live in an apartment that you do nothing but supercharging.
Right.
If you have one of the older Model S's, it's even free, which is a great incentive, but you're really stressing that battery by constant, rapid DC charging like that.
It'll be here for a good time, not a long time.
Yeah.
And another quick comment from XCube on YouTube. Should I sell my Model S after 7 years? What parts usually fail besides the high volt battery? I've got supercharging for life, but he's afraid of future repair costs.
Well, the good news is that a 7-year-old Model S has made many trips to the warranty repair centers at Tesla, and the majority of the design problems have been flushed out. All of your door handles by now should have been replaced, the window regulators. Your battery is probably the only Achilles heel left in that car. And now you have a decision to make. Do you want to continue to gamble, or is that $22,000 replacement something that you can stomach and continue to drive the car?
And that opens up a whole new opportunity to talk about what the future of battery infrastructure looks like when it comes to companies like Redwood Materials, who can just take the battery, recycle them down, and make new batteries to bring costs down and keep the ecosystem of battery creation relatively small and cheap. You've got things like that. You've also got, and we'll talk about it, we can talk about it right now if you want, but companies like Tesla and Rivian who will just take the old batteries if they're out of commission for vehicle use, and they'll just put them in a farm for mass storage.
For storage solutions?
Right.
Okay.
Well, it's also important to note that, if something does go wrong with that battery, it's not just done, right? We can take care of it, right? If it starts to drain, or we get a resist to sell
for a lot
right.
cheaper than.
Yeah,
Yes.
It's not going to be it could not be a $20,000 thing, right? We could, again, if they're in the States or if they're willing to ship their car or what have you, we can take care of it for a lot less.
I love J.B. Strobel's definition of Redwood Materials. It's a 0% waste stream.
Yes.
What comes in goes back out
There you go.
as a new product, reusable. We've got a TikTok question from Smashburger.
Oh, I love Smashburger.
He says, "Hi, yeah, they used to be good burgers. They're drying up now or something.
they? I haven't
I'm gonna
had it
go on
in
a
a hot
rant
minute.
here. Yeah, it used to be one of our favorite places. They were greasy and juicy and yeah.
Don't say that, it breaks my heart.
But anyway, Smashburger is this gentleman's name from from Sweden and 30 kilometers north of the Arctic Circle.
Wow.
How cool is that, right? How are you and where are you from? I'm fine, thank you. And I was originally born in Germany, in Bavaria, down in the south, in the Alps. And came here when I was 8 years old and lived in Rochester, New York for many years, 4 seasons, and then moved out to Phoenix, Arizona. And I'm enjoying blue sky and sunshine the rest of the time here.
That's more than 30 kilometers south of the Arctic Circle.
Much more, yes. He says he has a Nissan 300ZX that he converted to electric. My hat's off to you, Smashburger.
You guys are fantastic up there, I tell you.
Yep, you are an innovator, you're inventive, and that is a daunting project, not for the faint of heart. Mark, YouTube, is that Rocket Man in the background? LOL. It is, and let's describe that again. The reason that we
Starman.
put Rocket Man up, Starman, right, was that yesterday was the 5-year anniversary of him going into outer space. And again, the reasons that SpaceX did this, they were testing their Falcon Heavy rocket, and no one was going to give them a $30 million satellite to prove that this rocket could actually go up there without exploding or falling back down. So they needed ballast, they needed weight. And somewhere within SpaceX, probably Elon decided, you know what? Rather than take cinder blocks and anvils, which we're going to need for all the construction that we're doing, let's take one of my extra model or roadsters, and he had 2 of them at the time. This is VIN 686. VIN number 1 is at the Peterson Auto Museum, and they decided to mount this on that rocket And it will probably go down in history as the most brilliant marketing move ever because not just our generation, but all the other generations in the future are going to be talking about this event. It will be in the history books, or at least in the history archives. I don't think we'll have books in the future.
No, it's all going to be digitized.
Yep.
And if you want to see all of the great photos that go on in the back, if you want to know what we're talking about, be sure to check us out on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. You can always check us out on TikTok as well. If you want to stay in.
Spotify.
Oh, and Spotify the day after, if you want to see us there as well.
So another news item here, and these things make the headlines. The headline is, Chevy Bolt EV gets fried by Electrify America fast charger in Florida.
What?
Now, bear in mind that just one of these events on the planet makes the news headlines. This is
It proves the EV revolution is over. It's it.
dangerous,
Sorry guys, we gotta get out of here.
But it did happen, and it was apparently a circuit overload, and that circuit overload migrated into the car and destroyed some things in the car. It basically goes like this: that they took the car. First, they notified Electrify America. You know, there was a mishap at one of your charging stations. They said, please take it to your local dealer and let us know what the costs are. Fully prepared to, compensate and take care of that problem.
It is unfortunate that the Bolt itself has had a number of this situation
Of
happen.
issues. So apparently this charger short-circuited something, and it put so much power through the car that it fried every wire in the Chevrolet Bolt. Well, every is probably an incorrect term, but some wiring got fried. And of course, insurance companies looking at this saying, oh my God, we have no idea how to handle something like this. We don't have the technical expertise to dive into this and determine what it's really going to take to repair it. They immediately totaled something like this. So they totaled this, and they said it was over $20,000 in damages. So somebody's going to get a new car. Electrify America is going to look at their design and do some reverse engineering and solve this problem. And hopefully this will never happen again.
And maybe, just maybe, Electrify America will have the same reputation that, I think it's EVgo, or no, it's not EVgo. It's the Scandinavian company that's extremely known for being reliable, especially in cold conditions, and which is part of the reason why their EVs are so popular up there. Kyle Connor just did a review on a couple of them in Colorado, and they've got a collection of those. And Electrify America just doesn't have a great reputation. They were kind of born out of spite, if you think about it, because they are owned by Volkswagen, and that was born out of the diesel controversy. So. And who knows, maybe it could be a great redemptive story that Electrify America could say, hey, you know what? Even though we kind of had to be here, it's not so bad. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of opportunities. So I hope they succeed. I hope they continue to advance and evolve.
And despite the Tesla dominance in global charging, we need these types of companies to pop up and fill the voids in other areas.
That's right.
So, Trucker McAllister, YouTube. Good morning again. As always, enjoying your podcast. YouTube, Nicolas Lesieux. Hello from France.
Hey!
I hope I pronounced that right. My wife is French, and I hear a lot of French around the house when her mother comes over.
Huh. That's beautiful. Anthony Bond, YouTube Shorts, out from Albany, New York. Aptera is a great design, but who will buy it when a low-range Tesla Model 3 can be had for $36K? Now, keep in mind, Apteras do go for supposedly somewhere around 25. I think
I think it's in that range. And of course, it's a niche market too. It'll be for the single commuter that can squeeze in under 40 miles a day, use strictly solar to charge, and reduce their cost. So it could be a niche vehicle. It's certainly not going to be a daily driver commuter vehicle because of the single-seater issue.
I'd say single people who live in Phoenix that need to haul more than a few things around, I think that's going to be the one for you. YouTube Shorts from Mr. Ryder09. Hi from India. I'm Tejas. Oh, please excuse me and my pronunciation, but it's great to have you on. Thank you so much.
One of these days we're going to have to create a map and chart all of the places where people come in from. Yeah.
Ooh.
We'll have a little
We could have it
dot.
on the back.
True.
That'd be really cool. Mark Minnis on TikTok. Any industry improvements to the old electrical highway, like the wiring harness. Now, what do they mean by the electric highway? Do you know that term?
I don't know, Mark. If you could expound on that, TikTok, Mark.
I think he's saying that the wiring harness is the old electrical
it's the
highway.
old. I
So
see.
have there been any improvements to electrical harnesses or wiring harnesses?
Okay.
Yeah, interesting question.
Yeah.
Because I don't know how much more. Well, actually, this does go to something I was just listening to Sandy Monroe talk about how, ideally what we're trying to push for is how can we get as few components into the car as we possibly can. Because that's less points of failure. We can consolidate things. He was talking to, and he actually was talking about that when it comes to software. Because one of the biggest goals of software right now is to get the most robust software that can operate on the minimal amount of hardware that also has the least latency. And that way, and Tesla's doing a phenomenal job of that because what they're doing essentially is running a basic version of autopilot in every car that allows it to automatically, instinctively react to a situation. So, when it comes to getting in an accident and deploying airbags, things like that, it can do it with almost zero latency. That's kind of the goal. It's kind of what they're pushing for right now, and they're doing a particularly good job of that.
It looks like Mark on TikTok stated that you are correct.
Yay!
All right.
Or I guess you were correct.
We have a YouTube Shorts comment here from Mr. Messi. Morning, y'all. Tuning in from Saudi Arabia.
Whoa! Here we go, getting global.
In that earlier comment that you made, single point of failure and reducing the amount of hardware, one of the first things that we did with this video with the in-wheel motor, picture me standing underneath a Tesla Roadster with the battery out. I point to the motor and I say, here's a transverse mounted 3-phase AC induction motor with a shaft. That shaft couples into a transaxle, bunch of gears inside, upper, lower. That transaxle then converts all that kinetic energy to 2 half shafts coming out of the transaxle. Then there's 2 U-joints or CV joints here, 2 more U-joints here, before anything even gets to the wheel.
Yeah.
Now, it's not only the inefficiencies and all of that lost power, but it's also the weight and the size.
Right.
So in-wheel motors open up the cabin again for many other things. I mean, it's kind of getting insane if you think about it. In the trunk now, or the engine compartment, you've got what's called a front trunk, a frunk. So you have all that storage. My wife and I go shopping. We still traditionally use the rear trunk or never think about the frunk. We could put groceries up there as well. It's kind of hidden. You assume that there's an engine under there. It's not accessible.
I hear that all the time from regular EV owners that it's like, oh yeah, I have that.
But I forget about it.
Yeah, you kind of forget.
Yeah. So now you're opening up even more of the car for other things. And so in-wheel motors, again, strong arguments for, and you'll have to watch our video to see what kind of pros and cons there are.
All right, Pete, we are coming up on about 55 minutes.
55 minutes, okay. We've got
Just,
plenty of questions to continue with.
Sure, let's go ahead. Yeah,
keep
let's
the
end the show
engagement.
on some of these. From Manketness on YouTube, my battery pack from the Model S sometimes makes whistling noises after a long ride. Is this normal?
There's nothing that I'm aware of in that battery pack that would be able to create any sort of audio noise. Yeah,
It would have had to be maybe a hole somewhere?
Piece of cardboard laying on top of the pack
yeah.
that got loose.
Right.
The wind is coming up over. There's a thermal blanket up there, and if that begins vibrating, maybe it, like a kazoo, you get some noises.
Oh, there you go.
But
That's
that
a
one
big
has me
kazoo.
stumped. Yeah, man, Katniss, I'm not sure what could be making that battery noise. And when you find out, please let us know. Either we're going to mention it on the podcast or it'll be a video. Wouldn't that be cool?
That would be nice.
The noisy Tesla battery.
Why? That's the opposite of what it's supposed to do.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be quiet. From Dublin Dave on YouTube, the Bolt isn't the only EV taken out by Electrify America. Yeah, unfortunately, that is true. We've had other stories of miscommunications with the chargers and the battery packs.
Same thing happened to a Ford Lightning, I think.
Yes, yeah, that's
that's
right.
true, yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
time will tell on these chargers and stations and things like that. It'll be nice to just see it get more robust as we have more opportunity to, work the kinks out and things like that. And also, plug and charge. I mean, for crying out loud, why is it that so many people can't seem to just allow you to pull up to a charger and just start plugging in the same way that your phone can charge on any outlet? It is interesting to me that that's not as common, and it's probably because of the profit incentive in the sense of we need to be able to make it sustainable. It's certainly not a bad thing, but that's probably why. It's where we're at. It's now you just plug your car into the 110 volt or the 120 volt outlet and get it done in 15 minutes. It's more like 15 days.
So from Facebook, Wayne Pendry asks, or states, it would really help if you guys could distinguish between the different lithium battery chemistries because they are not the same. For example, we avoid any batteries that contain cobalt.
Yeah, in fact, that was a story that we didn't get to today fully. We kind of mentioned it, and maybe we got a couple of minutes if we want to talk about it. But salt batteries and other alternatives to using things like lithium and cobalt, these kind of conflict minerals, there's a lot of opportunity in the battery space to be able to avoid using those and still providing the same amount of energy density that we take for granted in these lithium composite batteries.
So there is a YouTube video if you guys want to watch it. It's not ours, but the title is Salt Battery 2023 Release. And the headline says, this all-new sea salt battery has 4 times the capacity of lithium.
Sounds delicious.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because a lot of people, some people, I was getting to talk to someone the other day about the fact that lithium is contained in a salt. And so, there's not too much of a shortage of salt on the planet, thank goodness. And so if we find more sustainable ways to extract that salt and put it in a usable battery and then be able to maybe even put it back out where it belongs, everybody wins.
This may be a Donald Trump question, but can you use lithium salt as table salt?
Oh, probably. Probably.
I got the guys laughing over there.
Yeah, it's a little extreme. You guys just got to remember,
Yeah.
lithium will go away when we figure out graphene.
Yeah.
And inductive coupling will take care of your charging issues as well.
Yes, hey, I'm here for it. I'm open.
All of these, I guess the bottom line is all of these battery chemistries that we're currently familiar with are temporary and they're evolving rapidly. I mean, granted, we've had lead acid batteries now for well over a century.
Right.
But because of the heavy demand now for DC storage, there's a lot of innovation, a lot of scientists working and researchers, and we're going to see some major improvements over that whole chemistry.
What I can't wait for is the day where you'll have a building, the tallest building in the city, let's say, and it's got a lightning rod, and that lightning rod just waits for a bolt to come strike it, and all of the energy from that lightning can just be stored in something like a sand battery or a salt battery. Just the whole city's taken care of for weeks just because of a single lightning bolt. I'm waiting for that, and I'm optimistic that it could even happen.
Yeah. Well, I think Benjamin Franklin intrigued us with that possibility.
He sure
right?
did.
Good point, though. There is a.
How do we get lightning in a bottle?
If you could harness that amount of energy, yeah. Of course, with solar and some of the other methods that we are beginning to explore now, we probably won't need lightning. There's so much solar available.
Yeah, there's
and
a
so
lot
much
of
sunlight.
ways.
You guys keep forgetting nuclear fusions out there.
Yeah, well, I was actually about to say it. I was like, there's one thing we're a friend of in this office. It's nuclear fusion.
It's on its way. It's on its way.
So Jesse, I know that you're very committed to that technology. Have you heard anything new or recently about that?
I haven't heard any recent updates. I'll keep you guys updated. Though we'll do some segments on the show in the future. Watching the energy secretary, and I'll keep an eye on it.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I think that's a good place to pack it for today, right? Yep. What are we at? What we at an hour?
We're a little over an hour. Yeah.
A little over an hour. Great.
Looks like we got a final question. It's being highlighted here. TikTok, Rilman John, can you talk about the Tesla Semi, its battery and charging infrastructure? Why don't we do that in some future both videos and podcasts, because there's a lot to talk about there.
We did talk about it earlier, but you can go check out at Pete_Gruber on Twitter. You can see some images we took of one of those semis.
Yep. And they may be the first images of a Tesla Roadster parked next to a Tesla Semi, because it seemed to go viral once I did that. I had no idea it was going to be that popular, and it took off. And the short story there is, we were in our neighborhood, guys are shooting B-roll in the neighborhood, and I think Richard tells the story best. You want to reiterate that silent...
Give the Netflix description before we head out?
I'm sorry, I was reading comments. What?
Oh, sorry.
Okay, well, let me paraphrase then.
Yeah.
So they're out there looking for B-rolls, and this gigantic semi comes by, completely quiet, and suddenly they realize this is a Tesla semi. The next question was, what the hell is it doing in our neighborhood? Right?
Time to find out.
We're a small commercial operation here by a regional airport, and typically we don't have large deliveries or anything that large. So anyway, they realized it was a Tesla semi. He parked the vehicle. They got out and they said, do you mind if we take some pictures? He says, knock yourself out. So they called me. I immediately got a Tesla Roadster from the shop, drove it over. It was just like half a block away, and parked it next to the semi, and we're all standing there realizing the size differences between these two vehicles and the massive amount of evolution that took place to take us from a small Tesla Roadster, 2,700 pounds or so, with a 1,000-pound battery pack, to this gigantic truck that can actually haul 80,000-pound payloads with batteries 10 times the size of what's in this Roadster. And I threw that out there on social media, a few sites, Facebook sites, LinkedIn, and my caption was "Father and Son?" ? And it just took off from there. Everybody tried to answer that question with a different variation. But anyway, if you would like to see it, it's on our Twitter site, and it's at Peter_Gruber or at Pete_Gruber. No, that's it, at Pete_Gruber.
Great.
Okay.
Yeah. Be sure to check us out on every platform. We are on Twitter. We're also on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, obviously. Thank you guys so much for showing up. And of course, TikTok. We love all of you guys. Thank you so much for joining us for another episode. We'll see you guys on Thursday, 8:30 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. And we'll be getting to all of your questions, your comments, concerns. And yeah.
Yeah. Personally, I want to say this is an enormous amount of fun for us. I hope you're having as much fun as we are. We love the topics. We love all of the people coming in from all over the world. And you TikTok guys are just awesome, as are the rest of the platforms. We'll do our best to keep you informed. And we listen to what you're asking us for, and then we create content to fill that need.
So we'll see you guys Thursday for more of that great content. We hope you have a wonderful week, wonderful day, and we'll see you guys Thursday.